Episode 1. The End of the World. You never expect your life to be disrupted by a bulldozer, let alone a fleet of spaceships. But for Arthur Dent, the end of the world was about to begin. Arthur Dent was, by all accounts, an ordinary man. He had a routine that he followed religiously every day. He would wake up, put on his bathrobe, and make himself a cup of tea. This was his way of starting the day, a small ritual that brought him comfort and a sense of normalcy. Arthur lived in an ordinary house, a modest home in a quiet suburban neighborhood. The house was nothing special, just a typical two-story building with a small garden in the front and a picket fence. It was the kind of house you would walk past without giving a second thought. This ordinary house was located on a very ordinary planet, Earth. From space, Earth looked like a serene blue marble floating peacefully in the vastness of the cosmos. It was a planet that seemed to be just another speck in the universe, unremarkable and insignificant. Little did Arthur know that his house was the least of his worries on this otherwise regular Thursday morning. As he sipped his tea, he noticed some commotion outside. Construction workers were gathering in front of his house, and a bulldozer was parked ominously on his lawn. Arthur was shocked to discover that his home was slated for demolition. He had received no prior notice, no warning. It was as if this decision had been made overnight without any consideration for the people living in the house. He felt a surge of panic and helplessness, but the demolition of his house was just the beginning. Arthur would soon learn that the entire planet was in danger. The Earth, it seemed, was standing in the way of something far bigger than he could imagine. A cosmic event was unfolding, one that threatened the very existence of his home planet. The Earth was not just a small, insignificant planet in the grand scheme of the universe. It was now a target, an obstacle that needed to be removed. Arthur's ordinary life was about to be turned upside down, and he would find himself caught in the middle of an extraordinary adventure. The fate of the planet, and perhaps the entire universe, hung in the balance.
I'm sorry, but you can't knock down my house without permission. This is my home, my sanctuary. I've lived here for years, and you can't just come in and destroy it without any warning. Do you have any idea what this place means to me? It's not just bricks and mortar, it's where I've built my life, my memories. You can't just take that away from me.
Arthur Dent's day had started like any other, calm, routine, and utterly predictable. He had his morning tea, read the newspaper, and was about to head out for a walk when his friend, Ford Prefect, arrived with news that made the demolition of his house seem like a minor inconvenience. Ford was always a bit eccentric, but today he seemed particularly agitated, almost frantic. Arthur couldn't quite put his finger on it, but something was definitely off.
Arthur, forget about your house. There's no time to argue with these people. We have much bigger problems to deal with right now. You need to listen to me, and you need to listen carefully. This is a matter of life and death, and I'm not exaggerating. We have to leave, and we have to leave now. There's something far worse about to happen. Look up, Arthur. Do you see those lights in the sky? That's not a weather phenomenon or a military exercise. Those are alien ships, and they're heading straight for us. We don't have much time.
Worse than my house being demolished? Are you serious, Ford? What could possibly be worse than losing my home? This is my entire life we're talking about. I don't understand what you're saying. Aliens? Spaceships? This has to be some kind of joke, right? You're not making any sense. What could possibly be worse than that? I mean, come on, Ford. You're talking about aliens and spaceships as if they're real. This is Earth, not some science fiction movie. You need to explain yourself, and you need to do it quickly because I'm not following any of this.
Ford wasn't exactly who Arthur thought he was. For years, Arthur had believed Ford was just an eccentric friend with a penchant for odd behavior. But today, all of that was about to change. Ford had a secret, one that he had kept hidden for a very long time. He wasn't just an ordinary human being. He was something much more extraordinary. As it turns out, Ford wasn't human at all. He was an alien, a researcher from a distant planet who had been stranded on Earth for years. His real mission was to gather information about Earth and its inhabitants. And now his time was running out. The fleet of alien ships approaching Earth was not a rescue mission, it was an invasion. And more importantly, he knew that Earth's time was running out, because a fleet of alien ships was already on its way. These ships were not coming in peace. They were here to destroy, to wipe out everything in their path. Ford had tried to warn the authorities, but no one had believed him. Now it was up to him to save Arthur and himself from the impending doom.
What do you mean, Ford? What's happening? You're telling me that you're an alien and that there's a fleet of ships coming to destroy Earth? This is insane. How am I supposed to believe any of this? You've always been a bit strange, but this is on a whole new level. I need answers, and I need them now.
Arthur, we need to leave now. There's no time to explain everything. Just trust me. I know this is hard to believe, but you have to come with me if you want to survive. We have to get to a safe place before the ships arrive. I promise I'll explain everything once we're out of danger. But right now, we need to move. Earth's about to be destroyed. The ships are almost here, and when they arrive, it will be too late. We have to go, Arthur. We have to go now.
As Arthur stood frozen in disbelief, the truth was now impossible to ignore. He had always thought of his life as mundane, filled with the routine of suburban existence. But now, in this moment of sheer shock, he realized that everything he knew was about to change. The revelation hit him like a tidal wave, washing away the comfort of his everyday life. His home was not just a small house on a small street. It was a sanctuary, a place where he had built memories, shared laughter, and found solace. The small street, with its familiar faces and comforting routines, was the backdrop of his life. But now, it seemed insignificant in the grand scheme of things. The realization that his home was just a tiny speck in the vast universe was overwhelming. It was about to be wiped out along with everything else on the planet. The impending destruction loomed large, casting a shadow over his thoughts. Alien ships descending from the sky brought with them a sense of doom that was impossible to escape. The peaceful suburban area, once a haven of tranquility, was now the epicenter of an intergalactic crisis. The thought of losing everything he held dear was unbearable, and just like that, Arthur's ordinary day turned extraordinary. The mundane had given way to the extraordinary, and Arthur found himself at the heart of an unimaginable event. The shock of the situation was palpable, and he could feel his heart racing as he tried to process the enormity of what was happening. The world he knew was crumbling, and he was powerless to stop it. In the face of intergalactic bureaucracy, even a planet could be demolished at the drop of a hat. The cold, impersonal nature of the alien invaders was terrifying. They viewed Earth as nothing more than a minor obstacle in their grand plans. The bureaucratic process of planetary demolition was a stark reminder of how insignificant human life was in the grand cosmic order. Arthur's mind raced with questions, but there were no answers to be found. The reality of the situation was sinking in, and he knew that life would never be the same again. But this was only the beginning of Arthur Dent's journey. To find out how he escapes Earth's demise, join us in the next episode of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Subscribe and don't forget, always bring your towel.